Here's the thing with the whole Letang over Malkin prioritization thing that I thought of immediately. And trust me, I said it to myself probably 20 times over so I didn't forget it in the past week when we've been away and haven't talked to each other. The Penguins' best chance to win the Stanley Cup is their next chance. And it's going to be that way until the end of the Crosby era because guess what? Even though he was fantastic last year, Sidney Crosby is going to deteriorate year by year. Not very often do we see things like Kris Letang last season, where in his most recent season at the age of 36, he had his best season of his career. That doesn't happen very often, especially when that career is as decorated and as impressive as Sidney Crosby's. He could still be an absolute freak of nature and a monster next season. I wouldn't be surprised in the least. I think we're actually expecting that. But the best chance to win the Stanley Cup for the Penguins is the next chance to win the Stanley Cup, which is next season. And you get that more so by bringing back Kris Letang than you do Evgeni Malkin because Letang is a better player at this stage of his career in the position that he plays than Evgeni Malkin. Malkin is still a point per game player, which is very impressive, but at a second line center role. Even though Malkin is fantastic, that top pairing defenseman that can move the puck, that can play the power play, that can play the penalty kill, that can play 26 minutes a game. We talked back and forth on this episode, on this podcast, believe 2 weeks ago, that Kris Letang, you don't have to necessarily replace him if he's gone. You can do other things to figure out the defense, but that makes it a lot more work. What you need to do is bring Letang back. It is the quickest path from point A to point B, which is contention for another Stanley Cup. And like I said, best chance is the next chance. And if you're going to go with that theory, which is the correct one, then Kris Letang should be the priority over Malkin. Not that they shouldn't care about Malkin, they should, but prioritizing Letang makes a lot of sense there.
It does. It does. And not only that, I mean, Letang has, while he's been injured and has had health problems in the past, I think he's really come along in recent years as one of the most. He still really hasn't as I pull up the games played numbers. This team has been battered and bruised to hell and back every year. It's always the Stars. Because I saw a tweet that talked about Malkin not reaching 70 games more than once in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Which is an incredible stat to think that Malkin's still putting up incredible numbers. But Letang, I mean, for what it's worth in the last 10 years, he himself has only done that three times. Mm-hmm. So it's not too much better. So you can't bring in the injury thing or consistent play because I was going to while you were doing that talking, but
yeah,
it really is just a matter of you bring Letang back just because then it becomes or who takes over the role.
Mm-hmm.
That's an impossible question to answer whenever it probably won't come to free agency. It's going to have to come from the inside and then retooling things on the fly there. You want to keep Malkin around, I think, more or less as nostalgia at this point, too. Not nostalgia, but also how good of a player he is. But, I mean, we've seen his play deteriorate over the years, haven't we? It's just a hard question to answer for Malkin. Like, what specifically is he anymore?